Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for inviting me tonight. I appreciate it. What I want to talk to you guys about today and share is that, first of all and foremost, is that there are many options, and regardless of where your son or daughter or you are at, there are a lot of possibilities for you. And a lot of times people try to put limits on people that are on the spectrum. And what, in all these 38 years that I have been in this field, I have learned that people have exceeded those limits that people have tried to put on them time and time again. And we have helped people to live in their own homes in the communities of their choices. And whether they needed very little support or a lot of support. And also we've helped people attend local community colleges, universities, and trade schools, and have achieved success in all things, and even volunteering positions as well as paid positions. And so I just really want to, I think, really hammer home that point that there are many options available to you, and we should be hopeful, and we should keep an open mind about what is possible, because many things are possible. Okay, let's get into a couple of things about creative support. We have been around even longer than me. I've been there over 38 years, and creative support has been around for even longer. But we provide a variety of options programmatically. And we, as far as residentially speaking, we provide independent living skills and supported living programs. So I wanted just to give you a brief overview of those and let you know that the main thing is that we teach. We don't just do everything for people. We teach people how to do things for themselves. But while they're learning, and we provide the support they need to take care of all these everyday tasks that we all have to do in a much more successful manner. Independent living skills, or ILS, is a smaller scale than what supported living can offer. Supported living can be up to and including 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, whereas independent living skills has a much smaller cap based upon what regional center will approve. Okay, next slide. Sorry. So why would you consider independent living? There are other living options. Creative support does not do residential community care facilities. They do exist, they are successful, and it might be a great option for you. It's just not the option that we provide. We help people find their own homes in the community, and they are very person-centered. So that means really looking at what that individual needs. What do they really want? Where do they want to live? Who do they want to live with? And how can we help them achieve those goals? Each person that we work with is important to us, that they are able, they have the opportunity to exercise meaningful choice in their lives, and that they have control over their daily life. And it's something that is probably one of the biggest reasons why independent living and supported living are so successful, because the people that we support are fully vested in their lives. This is their life. They care. They are making choices, and their choices make a difference. Independent living is designed for people who do not need extensive support. Most of the time with the Regional Center of Orange County, it's usually around 20 to 30 hours a month, which is not a lot. A lot of times we start while people are living with their families, and we help them transition into their own home, into the community. but sometimes people come to us where they're already living in the community. We teach daily living skills. So these are things that you and I need to do every single day to make sure that we are handling our responsibilities. So we have to manage our money, we pay our bills, we cook, we go to the grocery store, we clean our clothes, we clean our homes, we transport ourselves where we need to go. All of these things are things that our clients or our participants need to do, and we teach them how to do that. The biggest thing but implement the safeguards that are necessary so that they're not themselves in jeopardy. Okay, next slide. Supported living. Why would we want to do that? So this is for people that require much more extensive support. Like I said, independent living with the Regional Center of Orange County is generally capped out around 30 hours. Technically, it can go up to closer to 50, but usually they like to put it in supported living. It's just a funding category. It's not really important as far as a family member or a participant is concerned. But again, even if somebody needs instruction and support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to maintain their home in a safe manner and to live their lives, they can still exercise meaningful choice. They can still have control over their lives. They can still live in the community of their choice and in the type of environment they want to live in. And they can live with people that they want to live with. So it is a very highly sought after type of program because there is so much autonomy, yet we still ensure the safety and that everybody is their health and their safety are guarded at all times. It's a broad range of services. So again, we really focus on teaching people things, but we provide the support that is needed. We make sure that every facet of their life, they are getting the type of instruction and support that they need to be successful and happy. Like I said, it's very flexible scheduling. Some people get maybe 3 days a week, maybe 5 days a week. Other people get 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's all determined based on each person's needs and their preferences. We always maximize independence and choice, but we never jeopardize their health or their safety. Okay, next slide. Services. So we help people find and furnish affordable housing. Many times people do come to us already living independently or in the community, or maybe they just got a Section 8 or a HUD voucher and they need help finding an apartment or a place to live. So we can provide staff that will help them find a place in the community. Sometimes they don't have rental subsidies, but we work with the families and the participants to make sure that they are able to afford where they want to live and that they can find a place within their means. We help them choose staff and housemates as appropriate. The staffing is a huge part. It's so important. This is such a personal service that it is very important that they feel very comfortable with the staff. Family members as well as the participants may participate in the selection process, and we work very hard to make sure that the staff, their personalities, their experience, their education, everything is the best match for that person. We provide the daily living skills instruction and support, just like in ILS. With supported living, there's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week emergency response system. And we always make sure that they have opportunities to participate in all the activities of their choice. They're never forced to do anything. Nobody's ever going to be forced into any type of activity. But if they have interests, if they have a passion about something, if they have particular skills that they want to pursue, we really encourage them, and we provide the resources that they need and the support that they might need to to fulfill their dreams. We also help them identify and use generic resources. Those are things like access, community buses, the banks, the grocery stores, food banks if necessary, SSI, SSA, everything that's available to people with disabilities, as well as just people living in the community. Okay, next slide. So as I said, everything that we provide is a combination of instruction and support. So some of the things, these are just some photos that you can see of some things that we've done with our participants. We teach cooking, but we don't just teach it necessarily one-on-one. A lot of it is, but we also have things like cooking club, and we get people together and they cook together and they have a social atmosphere, as well as learning how to cook and learning skills that they need, but it's in a much more fun environment. Same with money management. That can be very private and personal. Sometimes things are done in groups as well, but generally money management is something that's done more one-on-one. And then exploring interests. This is where we had a barbecue and a picnic out at the beach, and somebody likes to fly kites and things like that. We use the community resources as much as possible to help people explore their neighborhoods. Okay, next slide. We also offer another service that's called the Tailored Day Service. This is non-residential. This is a service that is designed to help people attend post-secondary education resources such as community colleges, trade schools, and then also four-year schools, universities and colleges. In addition, it's to help people if they want to give back to their community. Maybe they don't want to work and they want to volunteer and give back to their community. We can also focus on vocational skills, but the Regional Center does not want us to provide on-the-job training, so I need to make that clear. Again, everything that we provide is person-centered. We work with each person with what they want and what they need. We help them exercise meaningful choice and control, just like with all of our residential services. In Regional Center of Orange County, they have a maximum number of hours of service. It's 7 hours per week. That's the maximum. And if somebody needs additional services and support, often it's combined with either the independent living service. And what we do is we teach adjunctive skills to maximize people's success. We don't necessarily provide tutoring, but that is a possibility as far as reviewing homework and things like that. But again, we access all of the things that are available through the schools and through their other resources that they can access. If they need more assistance than what is offered, we are able to provide that. A lot of times this service is about teaching people how to become much more organized and schedule all their activities, how to interact with their teachers or professors, how to make sure that they are organized, that they get all of their assignments done, and they get everything turned in, and that they are able to handle all of the responsibilities that they have without becoming overwhelmed. Again, we maximize autonomy and we maintain appropriate safeguards as needed to make sure that people are operating in a safe manner. All of our services are offered throughout Orange County as well as through the West Side in LA County. And we work with people who are affiliated with the Regional Center and refer to us through the Regional Center, as well as people who sometimes come to us through private resources and such.
Kathy, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple of questions from the audience.
Okay.
The first question is, what curriculum do you use to teach these skills?
Okay. We started off using a curriculum that was called Training for Independent Living. It was designed a million years ago, to be honest, but I have revised it over the years to be much more current with what the needs of the people that we're serving are. So we have like components. So for housekeeping, there's a component with all of the different skills that are necessary or that are available. We see what people already know, what they need to learn. Money management, housekeeping, cooking, all of those things. And then the tailored day service is a little bit different because it is geared toward the skills like how they communicate with their professors or teachers, how they get to and from their institution, their homework skills, things like that.
Okay, thank you. The next question, what is SSA?
SSA, the Social Security Administration. That's a resource that's available to people. You would apply for that and then if you qualify, you get SSI, which is supplemental security income. A lot of our clients receive that.
Okay, great. And one more question for now. What is the name of the program where an ASD individual lives with another family and the family provides service level from 1 to 4 and the family is paid based on the level of service? SSI pays for the ASD individual, and I believe Regional Center pays the balance.
Right. I'm blanking. I'm so sorry. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I would say ask your regional center worker for that. I can't think of it right at the moment. FHA, FFHA, something like that, is what it is. It's like kind of like a foster family. It's an in-place placement with family, and they have responsibilities to receive a certain amount of pay.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Oh, I think again, I have this in here that our staff are professional and friendly. We are not meant to be people's friends. We are professionals and we are providing a service, but all of our staff are very friendly. And again, it's about the bond. It doesn't matter what program or what type of service you get. It's so important that you have a good bond with your staff. You, the participant, and the staff, if they have a great bond, there's going to be progress made and people are going to be happy. It's going to be a win-win situation. So I think that's really key for all family members to keep in mind, is finding the right agency to where you have philosophical alignment, but also finding the right staff where you really feel comfortable. I think that's one of the most important things. I wanted to let everybody know that we realized very early on that the social aspect of life in general is so important, and no matter what program anybody receives and whatever services they receive from us, everybody is eligible to receive or to participate in our social program. And we have activities, and right now, even though with COVID and all of this stuff going on, we have all kinds of virtual social programs where people are interacting and getting opportunities to do things together. And it's almost every single day. Under normal circumstances, we were doing things 3 to 5 days a week. And again, people participate at whatever level they want, but they are doing things like going to restaurants, bowling, going to movies, Sometimes we have beach days, we have park days and picnics. We have people that participated in sports, or like some people got into running and participated in races together. Like I said, we have a cooking club. We have all these different things. And one of the main thing is that we teach all of the needed skills in a very fun environment. And but we found that our social program has been key to helping people learn. And I think I'll end on that. I do think the social part is incredibly important. And we have a website if you're interested in learning more about our.
Yes, there's a question. Where are you located, and where do the clubs, such as Cooking Club, meet?
Well, the cooking clubs meet at all of our participants' homes. They take turns. And we have an office in Huntington Beach, and we have an office in Culver City. And we work throughout, I mean, like I said, we work throughout Orange County. It's a pretty wide area that we serve. So it really depends on, we have clusters. I think I would say that a lot of our participants live in the Costa Mesa area, some in South Anaheim, Huntington Beach, Fullerton, let's see, probably maybe some Yorba Linda as well. So we pretty much go wherever our clients are, but we have kind of hubs. Yes, we can help people pass a driving test.
Okay.
How do you do that?
We can't do the in-car, the actual driving part. We can't do that. But we can help you study for the test, and actually even help you go and take the test.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And you guys should understand Kathy is on vacation, and this is how she's spending her vacation. So that's dedication, is sharing her insight with us. So thank you so much, Kathy. We really appreciate it.
Contact me. There is on our website. On our website, you can. There's a way to contact me, through the email, and I will absolutely get back to anybody that has any other questions. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to be able to connect with all of you.
Well, thank you everybody for participating in our poll. I wanted to share the results. The first question was, what brought you to today's presentation? And 15% of you are adults with ASD, 70% are parents, and 15% are educators or providers. The second question was, when did you or your child start receiving applied behavior analysis ABA services? 17% said it wasn't applicable, but 33% said that they received it as an early interventions for their young child. 17% of you received it either in middle school or high school. And finally, a third of you, 33%, have never received ABA services.
Just a little background on me. I've been in the field for about 7 years now. I kind of fell into it and fell in love with it and decided to get my BCBA. And I've been with Isaac in different places for the past 7 years. So I've always worked with him. And I see he already got a shout out from, I'm sorry if I say your name wrong, Jareen, who says that he's awesome, and he is. You're very correct on that. So yeah, so again, 7 years. We've been really having a lot of fun with working with adult clients. It's been something we've been trying to do more and more often. I know Isaac and I both have a love and a passion for that age group. And we think that sometimes ABA is seen sometimes as only something younger people do, but it's so valuable in just the grand scheme of life that we use all the time, even just with each other. So once he gets his slides started, I know it's going to be good. So Isaac will jump on, but this is basically what, I've introduced myself. This is something that's typical that will happen, especially now in this day and age where everything's having to be virtual and we're having to deal with all these tech issues, and it can be very frustrating and very awkward and weird. But this is where we just adapt. We go with the flow and we say it's going to be okay. No problems. So one of the things that, as Isaac and I were talking about tonight and brainstorming about what it would look like and what is important to talk about and why we, look at ABA as such a foundational rock in which we can build so many different skills, we wanted to talk about kind of what that journey looks like and what we've found with a lot of our clients and people that we've come across, the needs that we found that they need, not just our clients, but our family as a whole, as a company as a whole, as who they are in their jobs, in life, as friends. So, we see that there's this road, and, first it's early intervention services. And I saw from the poll about half of you, a good portion of you have received or have a child who has received early intervention. Those are such critical moments in our lives where we get to build upon all of these things that we've, learned, and that's where we're connecting all of these things. But then you go into elementary school and you're still being able to be provided with ABA expertise and what that looks like. And then middle school, you're still being provided, and you still have, you're still kind of a kid. You're still allowed to have parents oversee a lot of what's going on. And then you get to high school and we're still providing ABA services. And then you hit this point after high school where it's like, now what? What do we do? We're too old to receive services. We feel too old. What is even out there for us? What does that look like for us? How do we even go about getting that? And one of the biggest things that, Isaac and I started talking about was medical necessity. ABA is in the medical field, and that's the direction everything is taking. And really it comes down to medical necessity. Why is ABA important, and what can it add to your life, and how is it going to give you value, your family value, just your overall life experience? And that's when we touch on what quality of life looks like. And that involves health, your comfort, being able to be an independent, active person in your own life, happiness, emotional stability, physical stability, social well-being, just independence in general. And so when we look at quality of life, it's very multidimensional. And it's, when we talk about autism as a spectrum, we're not talking about this linear thing where you're here or here. There's a variety of different areas that some are really well at and some struggle with. And the point of ABA is to be able to pinpoint and see where those deficits or those needs are and where those strengths are, and build programs around that. So you can go to the next one. So before I jump in, because I also saw there was a good amount of you who've never had ABA experience. ABA is applied behavioral analysis. It's a science that we base everything off of in order to develop different patterns, take maladaptive or inappropriate behaviors and replace them with something that allows them to function well in society, function well as a human being. So we do that by looking at assessments. We take assessments. Everything is data. We want facts. We want to be able to observe behaviors. We need to see it contextually. So we look at our assessments. There's a bunch of different assessments I can go into, and honestly, I would love for anyone to reach out to us after. I know Isaac and I talked, not boring everyone too much on what all of those little details look like, but based on those assessments, we create program development where we really individualize and fine-tune our programs to where the need is at, where that person is at, and what their desires are, what their goals are, what the family's style is, what that little unit looks like. And then we bring in teams to do the treatment portion, and that's where we have staff and we have different tiers. I started off as a one-to-one, which meant I worked one-to-one with clients, and that was incredible because you're like the hands and the mouth and the feet of, you know, teaching how to learn new behaviors and follow through, and you know, go through those challenges with your clients, with these people, with these families, in order to make sure that they're living the best life that everyone in that unit can live. And so there's treatment, and then there's evaluation, where we're constantly looking and seeing where we're growing, where we're not growing, what skills are we still struggling with, what are we doing really well at, are there any other needs that we're missing? And that's where we can really come together as a team. And that's why, even though it's boring to look at ABA treatment package, it really is a cool way to look at the whole situation at hand, these goals, to see what exactly, you know, we're working on. And I just saw, do RBTs and VC-ABAs provide the actual one-to-one? Yes, some can do that. Since we're moving in a more of a medical direction, the, you know, the prerequisites that you have to have in order to enter into this field, it's no longer looking like a out of college job. This is you dealing with human beings and working with human beings. So you can provide actual one-to-one, and actually some insurances only allow RBTs to step in. And that's, RBT is just a registered behavioral technician. And it's something you do have to take a fancy test for and do all your hours. So yeah, Jareen, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Yes, you can do one-to-one, but the goal is also to move up. So as a VCBA now, I'm able to incorporate and come up with programs based off of what insurances want or need, or what they're looking for, or what they deem is medically necessary. And then we kind of come along, everyone, and say, listen, these things are necessary because they're about quality of life. So Kathy, you can move to the next, or sorry, Judy. Kathy was our last speaker. Judy, you can move to the next. So we basically look at all of these domains. And again, Isaac and I kind of broke it down to, and there are more, there are absolutely more domains than what we have here. But we broke it down to independent living, employment skills, leisure skills, health, continued education, relationship skills, finance, management, and skills. Okay. Yeah, so these are some of the important domains that we kind of broke down. And, you know, when we look at these domains, the reason that they're important is because in each, when we look at what makes us independent functioning adults, we look at a lot of these different areas. And each of these areas, sometimes, especially when we transition from that high school to adulthood, are areas that sometimes we lose track of. And this is where we can really build upon these skills in order to move into more of that independent living and make our lives all that they can be. So I'm going to go through each of these domains and kind of talk to you about why they're important and what we as a company do to kind of facilitate what those opportunities could look like. I know there's a lot of parents on here as well as young adults on here who are listening to this. So please, if at any point you have questions, put them in the chat. I have it up and I'm more than happy to answer. Again, the main thing with ABA, it's individualized plans and treatments. These FBAs that we write, these functional behavioral assessments, are supposed to be individualized and tailored to what your needs are. So again, these domains are just these growth development areas that are necessary so that we can see what our long-term goals are, and then we can start setting up short-term goals to attain them. So Judy, you can go to the next. So continuing education, you know, I have a client right now who is taking that step into learning more. And there are so many core values that go into, one, just choosing to continue your education, no matter who you are, having to have that discipline to complete tasks, manage expectations, register, navigating, you know, obviously right now a lot of it's distance learning, but even when you go on campus, navigating directionally, just management in general, communicating with your teachers. And then you're supposed to select a career path if that's something you want to do. And that's a lot of weighted, meaty stuff right there. And if we're looking at individuals just singularly, there's supports that I need, you know, and I feel like there's a lot of areas that we as ABA can develop, you know, different stepping stones for people to be able to manage their schooling in a way that makes sense to them, whether that be, you know, for this one client that we're doing it with, we talked to him about almost creating like a master list of, you know, passwords, emails, all of these things, so that he's not always dependent on having to ask all of us just to be able to manage that. Being able to search on the computer, being able to type, being able to put sentences together, all while dealing with anxieties, all while dealing with just the already stressors of the world. Yet, can we get help with a high school GED? Of course, we're not in that schooling situation altogether, but we work with our clients to help them figure out what's the best way to manage their schooling, what's the best way to set up their day to get certain things done in order to succeed. It's a lot of things that we just do naturally that sometimes we forget is a little bit harder, and we need to be creative in our approach to be able to make sure that there's support in continuing education and helping find different opportunities. And I know as a company, we're hands on deck, always looking up, always researching which schools are great, which ones have good programs. And though we're not always directly working with that school specifically, we'll work with our clients to develop different skill sets within those areas so that they can feel supported in learning, in sitting and tolerating having to sit there for a long period of time, about having to engage in conversations that maybe are not fun. Just like I have to, you know, navigate conversations that I don't find necessarily appealing.
So just, you know, I'm sure as Kyley mentioned, I think one of the biggest things that we try to do in applied behavior analysis is take a look at supporting clients regardless of age. In this instance, we're talking about individuals that are young adults that are going through a lot of transitions. And, you know, these young adults are coming to us because their insurance qualified them for service. You know, some of the symptoms that they're experiencing do qualify them for this. So some of these domains we feel are really critical in the sense that there's a lot of skill building involved. And I think as Kyley was mentioning, when it comes to continuing education, so you take a learner that is graduating high school, that is leaving that school environment, the skills involved in identifying, you know, are they going to continue on to college, or are they going to identify a trade school? How do you navigate the registration process? How do you sign up for classes? How do you navigate a larger school? You know, all of those things are critical where we go in and provide support. And we provide support based on a home-based program, but we generalize it over to the community as well as tackling some of these particular skills. So one of our biggest takeaways from this presentation is, you know, just like at every age, there are a plethora of skills that we could work on at this young adult age and during this transition. You know, this being one of the domains that we're able to provide quite a bit of support, because this is a domain that young adults face. Is do I go to school or do I not? You know, if I choose to go to school, how am I going to navigate that whole system, which is a big system? How am I going to select a career? How am I going to communicate to teachers and peers and deal with some of the social nuances that are part of larger classrooms? And there could be so many points of breakdown that, you know, that having a good foundation with utilizing some solid ABA strategies like we'll share in a little bit, you know, are going to be really critical to this age. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Prior to so Kyley, I think you're right. Prior to the continuing education, just so we could walk everybody through, there was an independent living domain, because that's really important. The independent living domain in terms of learning skills to be more independent. I really appreciated what Kathy was talking about in the prior presentation, because she really broke down a lot of the different areas, and she really spoke to a lot of these domains in her program. And it looks like they provide a lot of group service, a lot of in-center services, which sound fabulous. You know, we're coming at this from a treatment model, a medical model, as Kyley mentioned, a one-on-one model, where we're going to really focus on the individual, their individualized needs in these areas. And especially when we take a look at this age, these are things that become very salient. So when it comes to independent living, the slide that wasn't there for whatever reason, you know, we were talking about things like hygiene. We're talking about things like being able to do certain chores like laundry, and making sure that the individual has clean clothes and is looking presentable to be able to navigate their day. You know, being able to pick up their belongings. You know, so many different things that they're going to require to start transitioning towards whatever independent living scenario they're going to choose along with their families. It could be, you know, living with their family members but being more independent. It could be doing some independent living or supported living, or, you know, the different spectrum of it. So, you know, that's the independent living domain that's really important. And we take a look at supporting the client through all those different skills. You know, we talked about continuing education. This next one with relationship skills, this becomes really important. I know with relationship skills, this is something that starts magnifying at this age in terms of just being able to have people that they can confide in when they're beginning to feel certain feelings, certain desires, whether it could be the desire for friendship, or the desire for, you know, maybe having a partner, or getting into a relationship, and, you know, everything that's going on internally, being able to have confiding relationships where they could share becomes really important. Learning where to get information about curiosities and desires, and being able to normalize it so that way they're not shamed when they ask the questions, and, you know, be able to have good dialogue about that. Also learning the social skills and the ability to practice relationship skills. I mean, you think about, you know, as you venture on to want to meet new people, whether it's friends or whether it's people of the opposite sex, you know, there's a lot of skills that are involved that, you know, one needs. So just the ability to practice a lot of those skills to begin to venture into some of those relationships, you know, and just overall creating meaningful relationships. I know Kyley does a lot of work in this area, and I don't know if you have any additions to this, but I know this is one of your passions.
Yeah, you know, and I see down here in the comments as well, asking how long have you been providing these services to young adults, and how many? Mm-hmm. Over the years, there's been a lot. But one thing Isaac and I have seen is that when we talk to people or families that have adults on the spectrum, they don't know that there are still services that are able to be provided for them. And so there are a lot. We would love to see more, just because that extra help, that extra hand now in one of the most critical parts of your life is always necessary.
I know for me, same question. You know, I mean, I've been providing services to this age group for a while, but it looks like recently I've experienced where, you know, I've seen a lot of young individuals, young adults, be able to qualify for services where they're receiving a diagnosis later on in life. So they don't come from a history of early intervention or, you know, ABA services as a young person. They're coming in and, you know, there was an event that happened where either, you know, there was some, you know, big issue that happened at school, or some type of bullying situation, or, you know, even it could even been, you know, I've had individuals that have been into legal issues because of some of their deficits. A lot of it in the area of social skills, safety awareness, that has led them to have some issues where that they received the diagnosis during their evaluation for whatever issue came about, and now they qualify for service. So, so currently, it's become kind of an area of specialty for Brett Denovi and Associates, and I work with Kyley on this particular age group. So this is definitely an area of interest of ours, this particular age, because we see a lot of opportunities for this age group.
Yeah. And just jumping back to relationship skills, just to kind of give you an example to normalize what that would look like actually out in the field. I know that with some of my clients, we've even just talked about, Isaac mentioned not being able to shame someone for asking questions. What that looks like is, that doesn't mean I become their relationship expert who gives them all of this sexual health advice. What that looks like is being able to filter and almost mediate and show that client where that conversation could take place. If there are physical things, it's like, hey, thanks for letting us know that. You know who would be a great person to talk to? Your father, your mother, your brother, your doctor. So I want to be clear that we're also not trying to intervene and have all of these really intense conversations, but we want to normalize these conversations as well, because there are tons of times where, one of my clients, we were at the mall one time working on just, hey, you keep saying you want to bring a woman here. What would that look like for you? What would you do? What are your expectations? And then also just working on having conversations, going into a store that might be more girly and tolerating what that looks like. Instead of me holding up a shirt and saying that's the ugliest shirt I've ever seen, how do we go about saying, hey, you know what? Why don't we try that one instead? That looks good with your hair. So it's really fun and it's exciting. And, we have to remember people are human beings and they have emotions and needs. And it's our job to step in and make sure that they're doing it in a safe way. Also creating boundaries as well to know, when they go out into the world, who should and should, like, no one should be taking advantage of them, and who they can be talking to and who is safe, and also who has better expertise on some of those a little bit more personal topics. And so that's been a really fun area to navigate with adults as well. I always dream of wanting to be a matchmaker. Isaac knows this because I think it's an incredible experience. But that's kind of a couple of the ways that it would look out in the field is, hearing these things, understanding, working through the behavioral component, but then pointing them to the other professionals or to the other safe people that they can talk to, understanding that my scope is ABA and behavior, and then being able to facilitate those conversations so that they are having those in a safe space, because the internet is not always the best spot to search some of these things, and we need to make sure that there are those healthy outlets. Are you teaching in vivo how to online date? And are you doing an FBA or other assessments? Yes, we are doing FBAs and other assessments. That's for every client we get. We're always running FBAs and assessments. As far as the online dating, that is something in the works that Isaac and I are always talking about. That's also why we're passionate about having these conversations with people who either had ABA younger or have never heard of ABA, because these are opportunities that we would love to connect with people on, to give, this age group of individuals another outlet to talk with other people, to learn social skills, all of these domains that we're talking about, even outside of relationship skills, so they can do life together and we can do life together and teach through ABA.
In vivo would be in person. So a lot of these social skill practices related to relationship skills are happening in person. So this is where we contrive situations and, have the individual, the young person, work on different scenarios where that they could confront if they would put themselves in a dating situation.
And one quick question. I mean, I know ABA is typically one-on-one, but can you envision any of, we have a large organization and we have a lot of relationships is number 2 after employment in terms of the priorities of our of our
Yeah,
families and individuals. Is this something that could be done in a group situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're actually building social skill groups of young adults that we pair because they're good matches with each other, and so this is something that's currently underway. I know for us, I can only speak for us. So due to the COVID climate, we're beginning to do these through telehealth, through Zoom, where we, start matching up and creating social skill groups. In the very near future, this is going to be a big part of our clinic that's going to be opening up soon. So,
okay.
Yeah. So the next domain that comes up that's a really important domain is beginning to manage finances, whether it's money in their wallets, whether it's purchases, learning how to earn money. Again, in this particular age group, not only is there desire for relationships, but there's desire for being able to purchase things. There's things that the young person would want to get, and learning how to earn money, being able to manage a bank account, knowing how to open up a debit card, and so forth, how to pay and monitor for change, investing money, making online purchases. The skills are exponential when it comes to this area, and it's also a really important area as well for this particular age group.
Yeah, and again, this is where some of these domains seem very heavy or hard, but that's what ABA is about, is setting up these, if our long-term goal is to be able to manage our finances, there are steps that can be taken that we can shape and work on, especially tailored to that individual, that, and we'll get to some other things soon about, pivotal behaviors and all of that. But sometimes these things feel very daunting. A lot of these domains feel a little daunting of like, how can we do all of that? And that's where, especially when it comes to money, there are steps, smaller steps that we take in order to shape a behavior to get it to be the exact behavior that we are looking for that person. So,
absolutely. Okay, next slide. Thank you. So this last domain is safety skills, which is also really important. We have a lot of individuals that we work with that are navigating and transporting themselves through things like Uber. So the attention to detail that we have to teach to be able to be successful in getting Uber is really important, and making sure that they're getting into the right Uber, that they have good safety awareness and so forth, if that's a mode of transportation that they're going to utilize. Cybersecurity has become a really, really big topic that I know we're working with clients on, that a lot of families are concerned about. As the young person navigates the computer and the internet, things like signing up for different accounts and knowing when and when not to enter certain personal information, all of that is really, really critical to the safety of the young person that we work with. Same with making online purchases. A lot of times you don't know the validity of who you're purchasing from, and to be able to discriminate between a valid merchant versus one that might not be, so all of that comes into play and is really important. Being able to hang out with the right people when it comes to safety. So this, we're not so much online, but also in person, just being able to be with the right people and ensure that, they're not getting manipulated, and so forth. As I mentioned right below, becomes really important, where, some of the individuals that we're working with have had histories and experiences of bullying, which has escalated to the point where, we're providing service due to just unfortunate circumstances because of that. So, again, if I were to trace back where maybe them being able to navigate some of those conflicts when they were in school and all of that may not have led them to being, the target of bullying, which then led them, and spiraled out of control for them, which was, unfortunate. So this is where we're being able to teach them how to navigate those social situations, you know, and being able to discriminate what's lawful and what's not. You know, we're living in a really interesting world right now where, you know, being able to know how to respond to authority becomes really important. You know, so a lot of those skills, which to me are critical skills, and that's, you know, where there's a big passion for this age group, because you know, I always ask the question is, what if these individuals aren't getting this support? You know, what could be the ramifications of them not getting support? And a lot of times there could be some harsh consequences should they not know how to navigate certain social circumstances that they might find themselves in, or some things that could pose a threat for their safety. So.
Yeah. To add to that, in the work environment with another client of mine, you know, and they have stuff that they have to sign off on, different trainings, and a couple of the different trainings we've had to go through are if there was a fire, if there was an earthquake, if there was an active shooter, and all of these things, you know, we should be training people on and understanding what do you do in those situations. And we did take time. We would go to that work outside of, you know, his actual work time and practice some of those skills of like, okay, so remind me, where do you go? What does that look like? Who are we speaking to? What do you need to do? Just so that they're also well equipped for if there are emergencies, what are our responses, and to train them up on that so that it becomes almost like second nature, so that that thought process and that problem solving doesn't come when there is a crisis. We've done all the work. We've done those like antecedent things and set them up for success before there actually is something going on. So those are other areas where safety skills are very applicable, in teaching them and understanding what do we do if something happens. So.
Well said. Okay. Next.
And Isaac, before you go on, I know we added health and leisure skills that didn't make it on.
Okay.
And just to kind of sum up those ones, you know, health is obviously super important because we want to make sure that, you know, they, apart from someone else, can independently take care of their body. They're able to know when they're not feeling well versus when they are, pinpoint areas of themselves that aren't okay. Is that something I need to go to the doctor for? So health is huge, as well as leisure skills, and also exposing individuals to areas that they've never, you know, tried before, and inviting others into doing, you know, shared leisure activities to be able to bond over those things. So those are also huge domains that we focus on as well, to make sure that health is taken care of and important, as well as their leisure skills are being built upon, or we're adding more substance to what could be done alone.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because they're two really important domains, you know, especially in the area of health. You know, one of the qualifiers for services for this age group, you know, I don't know if you guys discussed while I was trying to figure out my technology about, you know, the trends in young adults that are receiving ABA services at the time, and because there's a lot of comorbidities where there's a secondary diagnosis of, you know, there's the autism, and then there's also could be anxiety or depression, or, you know, other mental health issues that are going along with that. One of the areas too could also be just being able to support the individual with health goals. You know, if there's overweight, if they are overweight, there could be complications should skills not be developed to be able to manage that, to be able to eat better, to be able to exercise regularly. The complications can magnify. So you know, all of those are very relevant and important for us to be able to support the individual on. So health becomes really important. Being able to decompress, and, you know, we do a lot of work with stress management, and, you know, being able to teach the young person to meditate, or to do things that are decompressing, to reduce the amount of stress, again, for health reasons, that are a big part of the program that we work with the young adults. So health becomes really, really important. along with leisure skills, which Kyley did a really good job of. This transitions us. We talked about the domains that are important. The next part is going over some of the behavioral strategies that we work with young adults. And, we focus for this presentation on, some treatment packages and areas that we target that are applicable to this age group. So one of those is the importance of teaching executive functioning skills. So executive functioning is a set of behaviors that have to do with managing oneself and one's resources in order to achieve a goal. Next slide. Let's see if this works. Okay, so we're doing a little skipping, but that's okay. So with executive functioning, we teach skills such as goal setting, scheduling, listing tasks that are important, working through those tasks, just how to organize themselves, in their days, in their weeks, in their months, becomes really, really important. So, these areas and these goals are kind of at the cornerstone of this particular age group in our experience. And anything about that, Kyley?
Yeah, I mean, going back to what we talked about earlier about even like creating that master document for school. This is a very specific executive functioning skill that you can learn, and it's self-management, it's self-initiation as well, instead of always asking for the adult to help or, doing these things. By managing a simple document and putting, the website, labeling it, putting a passcode, you then cross out the need for other people to be involved in that moment, and you're able to do those things on your own. And so by teaching some of those skills of like, okay, the way I organize might look different than the way you organize. You're really good with computers. How can we teach a skill within your skill set so that you can do things more independently and be able to manage yourself without the need for everyone around you? We're really honing in on just that independence. What really truly makes you independent? And so again, teaching the skill of being able to organize your thoughts, organize your needs, and being able to put it somewhere that you're able to access, and you're able to adjust without having to stop everything and go get someone else or make a phone call or do whatever. We're teaching those small skills of being able to put that together before that need is there. And so that's just another area where you can become more independent. And that's a skill that you can take really into so many other areas of your life as well.
Ask a question here. So my son Josh did ABA back when he was first diagnosed. He was just under 4. And so obviously back then, well, first of all, it was very new. Second of all, it was, very focused on basic skills, communication skills, theory of mind, emotions, all those things. I have notebooks of all the drills he did.
All the programs.
So the curriculum was broad in terms of there were a lot of different domains that he was dealing with, but they were finite drills that kind of built on and then were generalized, right? And so to me, that's when I think of ABA, that's what I think of.
Right.
Where Kyley is kind of describing more, okay, we teach you this, we teach you that. So I'm wondering how the term ABA is used. Is that more that it's a one-on-one and it's breaking things down? Or how is that term ABA applicable to this helping individuals that are adults that are, have broad set of skills, but again, have gaps or things that they need to learn?
Yeah. That's a great question. And what I would say is, and part of the motivation for doing this particular presentation is that ABA isn't just the programs and the drills and for a certain age group. That's what we think of when we think of ABA as a service delivery. But really, ABA is a science that's driven by behavior analytic principles, you know, things like antecedents, behaviors, consequences, the principle of reinforcement, and so
the
forth.
positive
So
reinforcement, yeah.
So essentially, those principles are now used with this age group to teach more complex skills. You know, that's why we wanted to show some of the domains and some of the skills that we target within those domains, because they tend to be more complex. They have many more parts to it. So, you know, just like a lot of ABA programs, we take a look at a complex skill, we break it up into smaller discrete skills. We teach them, and then we package them together to support the individual to learn the more complex skill. You know, we're able to, you know, the beauty of ABA is that it's able to be taught in all different environments. So, you know, we might teach something in the home for concentrated practice, but we want to make sure we generalize it to the community, and then to the environment that they're going to actually demonstrate it. So if we're working on vocational skills or, you know, anything, you know, we might be able to work in that particular setting where the individual is demonstrating the skills, we're reinforcing it, we're providing supports for them to become more independent and so forth. So ABA is all over the place, and it's very, very applicable to this age group. It might just look different. It might look more seamless to what the young person is doing, and it's embedded within those activities.
Yeah. And it's about the approach to, like he said, it's still ABA. It looks different. It feels a little different, but there's still the A, the B, and the C. And in teaching some of those skills, like I was talking about earlier, we had to, one, refer back to the FBA, look at our goals, make sure we're targeting those goals, but then also fine tune it to what, you know, their skill set are already. And so even by creating like that master doc, we did have to set it up like, okay, you hate doing this. So what is reinforcing about actually doing this skill, and what do we need to get set up beforehand, and what does the behavior look like when we start engaging in doing that, and how do we self-regulate and calm ourselves down during the midst of typing something like that out. Because even within teaching a small skill like that, you're still getting behaviors, you're still having to do behavior reduction programs, you're still having to teach coping mechanisms, you're having to teach those problem solving skills, all within the scope of what ABA is, and waiting, placing things on extinction, following through. So, but because it's adults, it looks a little different because you're inviting them more into that process instead of always just teaching what ABA means. And it is with complex things and that requires people to get a little bit creative and think outside the box, and not always do ABA in the way you might have done it with a 5-year-old. You have to apply it to someone and meet them where they're at, essentially.
So one more question, and then
Sure.
I'll let you guys get back to this.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So I guess the majority of us were parents, although we do have individuals on the spectrum that are attending today.
Yeah.
And I think some of the challenge, I'll just be honest about what's going on with us right now, is that we're talking about a young man who completed college. You know, he's 28. In lots of ways, you know, he's a man. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us parents did a lot of interventions when our children were young, which was when we could get away with it, and they would comply. But as they get older, they're independent, and they really don't want to, they want to be on their own. And so how do you motivate a young adult to get these kind of services? Do you ever intervene to help parents work with their child to convince them that maybe they need some help?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. There's many ways. One of the things that I could say about motivating a young person is making sure that they are as involved as they can in the program, and that they're driving the program. In a couple strategies from now that we're going to discuss is utilizing acceptance and commitment therapy, where it really focuses on more of a value-driven goals and taking a look at what's important to the individual and having that drive the program. So I think the buy-in for the young adults is making sure that they are the ones that are involved. And I would say for this age group, they're all involved in the functional assessment process. And a lot of the functional assessment process is done with them. Obviously the parents are involved as well, but they are the main recipients of the service and the ones that are also voicing what's important to them. So that allows us to get some buy-in. And then obviously the individualization is what really helps making sure that we're utilizing reinforcers that are applicable to them. So that becomes really important as well.
I would add to that too, even just on our end, having a well-oiled machine. I know with one of our adult clients, I was always once there was that buy-in and we were able to base it off of what's actually reinforcing to them, not just to parents, and build around that. I also had to recognize when there was a natural end to my role. What I mean by that is I was always in the midst of, helping them, training them with work, helping them with work, work. And then it came time to introduce something like working out and like being more laid back about it. And I also had to recognize, I've now been associated with a lot of aversive stuff. I have to regroup with my team and the parents and our client and just say, hey, I think this would be a great opportunity to bring another person into the mix who can add a different, value to the team. And so I know that Isaac and I are also really passionate in, meeting everyone where they're at, yes, but also recognizing these are human beings who need to be treated their age and include them, like Isaac said, but also recognize that we ourselves might be at the end. And I recognize for myself, going into that gym would make it feel like a job. And so by bringing someone else who's fresh, he's this young guy who was always about working out, and I was like, no, thank you. That created a different relationship. And that's where the individualization really comes in is, it's not always about us doing the job over and over again. It's about us also being able to change and adapt to where they're at as well, and recognize when we do need to pass that baton and be like, I've done what I need to. I'm not going to move on until we have that next support come in, and then making that person a part of that process as well. And I think that's a key component that sometimes is lacking. And I know that in our company, we're really working hard on making sure that those transitions feel very cohesive and they feel natural, and that there's communication. I know when I have goals, I always sit down with my client and like, okay, what do you think of this? Like, do you even like this? Is this even worth it to you? I know this is worth it to your parents, but how can we make this worth it to you? What does that look like? And then it's all about shaping and, understanding the different opinions and all of that. So I know that there is this like natural component that does come in when we're just working with people in general that sometimes gets lost when we speak only ABA terms, but there is that component where we have to remember, if I will never tell someone you have to be happy, because I know if someone tells me I have to be happy, I get angry. So also recognizing that there's just that natural humanistic side that we can't also forget about. And I think that's what makes it, work with ABA. When you take the science and apply it as a human being and meet people where they're at, I think that's where we've seen the most work being done. Yeah.
Exactly. So just a few other strategies that are really important in this particular age group. One of those is teaching perspective taking through theory of mind, in terms of the individual understanding other people's perspective, wishes, beliefs, and knowing what to do with them and knowing how to navigate those conversations, and just being sensitive to the fact that it's not all about their perspective, their belief, their desire. It's also about somebody else's, and that goes a long way when it comes to developing those social relationships and stuff. Judy, so this is a perspective taking. We can move on to the next one. Let's see what comes up. Self-management becomes also a really important skill, because you know, the goal is for the client not to need our service and not to need of our supports, but for them to be able to self-manage. So there's a lot of strategies that could be taught in this particular area. So self-management refers to strategies, techniques, and approaches to direct our activities and behaviors effectively. They can include skills like goal setting, planning, managing your time, and so forth. So, you know, there's a lot of goals that we create regarding having the young person be able to pinpoint, you know, what's the tasks that are important, create some goals, be able to self-monitor those goals and be able to report out. And a lot of times it could be reporting out to us how they're doing, but it could also be reporting out to parents. A lot of times there's communication breakdowns when, you know, the individual is not communicating or reporting out to the parents how things are going. It could be school related, it could be, you know, home related, and so forth. Being able to develop a feedback system so that way they know how they're doing, and then being able to access reinforcement. So that becomes a really powerful self-management package that we try to teach individuals at this age, so they could self-manage in all the different endeavors that they take on. And again, a really critical skill for them to be able to self-manage themselves. Yeah. So as the slide says, you know, this becomes a self-management package that we teach and we set goals for, because this could allow, you know, when the individual gets really good at being able to do this could allow them to really generalize this skill of self-management to a lot of different areas and be able to drive, you know, their behavior and their performance in ways that they want to be able to achieve short-term and long-term objectives utilizing this particular package.
Hey, here we go.
Perfect. Yeah. So the other area that we take a look at is making sure that we're targeting some pivotal behaviors. So pivotal behaviors are those behaviors that, when learned, cause changes in other behaviors without additional teaching. So it's almost like you get free learning when you teach these really important pivotal behaviors. You know, examples of pivotal behaviors are observational learning. So learning to observe others can lead to a new untrained behavior. You could think of these behaviors as, when learned, they give you more bang for your buck. So for a person to be able to be a really good observer and be able to observe others engaging in desirable behavior, and if they're able to model after that, then they're able to learn a lot of new behaviors without a lot of training. So there's a bullet point slide, if we could transition to it. Perfect. Yeah, so you could see, as Kyley was mentioning, you could see that these behaviors, for instance, asking questions is really important. You take a look at a lot of the different settings that a young adult might be in. The ability to ask questions to get answers to whatever questions they have is a really critical skill that can lead to a lot of new behavior without a lot of specific training for each different circumstance. Being able to research information is really, really critical as well. Being able to go onto the computer, research whatever it is that they're looking for can lead to a lot of new information that doesn't have to necessarily be trained individually. And so forth. Those are all examples of just some pivotal behaviors that could be taught at this age that are really impactful when it comes to their success. Yeah. And then the last strategy is acceptance and commitment therapy is a strategy that's really taking off in the area of behavior therapy and applied behavior analysis. So this is an empirically based intervention that uses acceptance and mindfulness strategies mixed in different ways with commitment and behavior change strategies to increase psychological flexibility. So a big tool on the next slide is something called the ACT matrix. So, you know, when we talk about including the young adult in their program, which to me is a critical component to the success of these programs. Something like the ACT matrix can be a really powerful tool, which is it's a graphic tool used to help individuals identify their values and recognize those, what we in behavior analysis call private events, but just being able to just talk about thoughts and feelings that move them away from their values. In addition, it could also list the actions that also pull you away from the things that are important to you, but also identify those actions that move you towards things that are important. So being able to really list out those things to get somebody organized with really what's coming up, what things are important, what things come up that take them away from those things that are really important, the actions that take them away from the things that are important, and those actions that drive somebody towards their values, all becomes really important towards having good psychological flexibility, good mental health, and good success. So in the next slide, we go through just the itemized version of what I just said with the kind of the standard graphic on the ACT matrix. And again, consider that a lot of the individuals that we're working with at this age also are dealing with a lot of anxiety. Most of the clients that we deal with are also coming in with, some diagnosed anxiety issues, depression, some other mental health issues, and being able to create some mindfulness over the things that come up that are preventing them from attempting some of the goals or some of the activities or tasks that we're working on, and working through those things that are coming up that are taking them away from the things that are important, to be able to attain the goals a lot easier, and so forth, becomes something that is very applicable at this age, and at any age, So those are some behavior strategies, and we'll leave you some closing thoughts where individuals with autism and Asperger's are entering young adulthood with unique needs. And to me, a big part of this presentation is that at this age group, as individuals are transitioning out of high school, entering college age or the workforce or whatever they're approaching at that age, there are still many skills that could be supported, that could be taught through solid ABA. Today, there are many young adults that are just getting diagnosed at a later age and are accessing ABA services through insurance or any other fundings. So, I think we're here to say that ABA can make an impact. And I know, as we continue to support this age group, we're continuing to look to find ways to offer programs that are unique to this particular age. I was talking to Kyley, and one of the things that's really coming up for me that I think would be a really powerful support for this age is something like behavioral mentorship, where we work with groups of individuals this age, to utilize the strategies, but utilize it more through a mentorship model where we're, supporting them on, trying to being able to identify what the goals are of the individual, what things do they need to do to be able to start attaining those goals, how to work with their parents and their family members and so forth. It becomes a lot more like mentorship, and that's kind of where that seamless process of delivering the service, where it looks a lot more seamless. So, we're definitely going to be and are really motivated to continue to support this particular age group. So ABA services can help to support the acquisition of skills in all the various domains that we talked about and more. And there are many ABA strategies that are applicable and effective for young adults. So ABA definitely is not just about, the 3 to 5 year olds or the 0 to 5 year olds. ABA can make a big impact at whatever age. And, so some of the experiences of having worked with a young person and then being able to see them 10, 15 years later as a young adult, and, having a completely unique approach, but still, being able to support that same individual and has become just probably one of the biggest gifts professionally that I could think of. And so for me, that's all. I don't know, Kyley, if you want to have any concluding thoughts, but
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I feel really strongly about any support system does not equate to failure. I think that is one thing all of us need a little bit more of, is being able to access what supports we need in order to, you know, be the best versions of ourselves and have a team who is there supporting us, you know, whether it's us supporting the parents, us supporting the client, us supporting each other. I feel strongly about it not equating to failure, and it actually showing the opposite, and it's showing more understanding of who we are and where we need to work. And, you know, just to echo what Isaac said, ABA, the science is incredible because you can apply it literally with anyone. I do it with my husband all the time. I'm like, oh, you want dinner? First, like, go clean and then you can have it. Like, so we can have fun with it. It doesn't have to be so rigid all the time. And so, yeah, it's something I feel great. But I want to leave room for questions if anyone.
Okay. Well, we've got some questions. The first question is from Philip. He wants to know, can you help with getting a GED? High school equivalent degree.
Yeah, I touched on that earlier too. Isaac, do you want to add to it?
I mean, I think if it's developing a game plan and, you know, what would be needed to attain a GED, I mean, all of that is within the scope of what we've been talking about. So I would say yes. In terms of the logistics and all of that, I mean, that would be part of the researching plan that would be put together. But I would say that, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, this next question is about funding. It's from Janine, but I have the same question. Is funding through the regional center a possibility if the service is denied from insurance?
That is a great question. I would say there are probably different programs that could be looked at, but I'd have to take a look. I wouldn't be able to give a definitive answer at this point. It would be based on the individual needs of the client and the program that's trying to be accessed through the regional center. So it's not a slam dunk yes or no. I just a matter of like taking a look and seeing what programs we're trying to access from the regional center, because they have so many different services. I know we tend to work with more individuals that get referred to us from insurance. And again, you know, I think there's not only the diagnosis, but there's other things that are going on that we're also taking a look at as well.
Yeah, and there are private pay options as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
How long have you been providing these services to young adults, and approximately how many have you worked with?
Yeah, that I know we touched on a little bit of like over the years a lot, and I know Isaac touched on there's a growing area where adults are being diagnosed now and entering into ABA who maybe have never gotten ABA before. I know for me, quite a handful, but not a lot at once, which is where I would love to grow this area so people have each other to also have social skills with and all of those things.
Yeah. I know. I mean, in terms of this age group, I don't know if I could count the number of clients that are of this age that I've supported, but I know at BDA California, where this is an area that we're putting a lot of resources behind, and that we're really focusing to support this particular age group. So we're having a growing number of clients that we work with in this particular age.
Okay. Isaac, there were some questions about location.
Sure.
Where is the service provided? Is it at your offices? Is it at the client's home?
So right now, all services are provided in home, or right now, I guess I should say telehealth, because that is a reality of the situation that we're in. So, you know, we are currently in the middle of identifying a clinic space because this is actually a group, an age group that we are looking to open up many more services for. So there will be a physical space that we're going to provide services out of, but we're not there yet. So it's going to be in more of the central Orange County, kind of the Orange, Anaheim, Tustin, that particular areas where we're looking. But right now we're offering services in home, community, or telehealth.
Yeah, and Inland Empire, LA County, Orange County.
Right. Those are, yeah, thank you. Those are the other regions that we provide services.
How big is your office? How many people do you have servicing the Orange County area?
Yeah, I mean, we have about 40 staff and growing, about 80 clients at the moment. So we're still relatively small.
But that's the fun part. We get to fine tune it. We're all very specific on wanting to fine tune and tailor to a bunch of different age groups, whether that's younger and specific social skills groups or older. And I do know COVID's kind of detoured a lot of things, but it has made us slow down and really take time to look at like what are now the actual needs that everyone's having to face, which has kind of been a game changer for a lot of people too, being at home now.
What's the frequency that you meet with the young adults?
Yeah, that depends on their individual needs and how the referral came in. So it could be anywhere from 2 to 5 times a week, depending on their authorization for service.
All right, and are there any, we're almost out of time. I guess this is a good place to stop. And want to thank you, Isaac and Kyley. There was excellent information.
Any specific questions, feel free to reach out to us. And again, my apologies for the mishap in the beginning. Hopefully this worked out okay.
It was great. So thank you. And thank you everybody for attending and putting up with all sorts of technical glitches we had today. But it was a really useful evening, and I want to thank everybody for attending and for YouTube for presenting. So everyone have a great evening.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.